Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Matt and I like video games. And today I'll be going over what I think are some of the high points of the Xbox Wire blog post about the Xbox Series X. So stay tuned. So as you all may or may not have seen by now, the official Xbox Twitter account tweeted out a blog post from Xbox Wired. A blog post titled Xbox Series X, the most powerful and compatible next-gen console with thousands of games at launch. And lucky for you, you don't even have to read it because I'm going to go over it right here, right now. Starting with the title first, where Xbox claims to have thousands of games ready for the launch of Xbox Series X. And just to clarify this for anybody who's thinking that what they mean is first-party AAA IP, you'd be wrong. However, they're going to have Halo Infinite, obviously. I would expect something from Forza, but most of what this specific article, is pertaining to thousands of games from your library now, like Xbox One games, Xbox 360 games, original Xbox games. What they're talking about in this article is bringing all of those games that you already own to the new Xbox Series X. And this kind of leads into the importance of owning your games. I mean, for me personally, I've got just under 150 digitally purchased games on my Xbox One X right now. And whether or not you care about backwards compatibility or not, you cannot argue that those games should be mine. From the day I purchased them to the end of time, those games should not go anywhere because I spent the money on them. And this kind of ties into what I was saying back when I made that Xbox Smart Delivery video earlier this week. But what they're saying in this article isn't just pertaining to smart delivery. What they're talking about in this article is also the hope to achieve full backwards compatibility. They go on in the article to say that they've already completed more than 100,000 hours of playtesting. And because of that playtesting, there's already thousands of games playable on Xbox Series X right now. Also stating that many of the team members on Xbox are using the Xbox Series X as their daily primary console right now. And the article just gets better from here on out. It goes on to talk about how all of those games, these thousands of games that are playable right now, all of them will benefit on the Xbox Series X. They're all going to benefit from that upgrade in the CPU, the upgrade in the GPU, and the upgrade to an SSD. All of those thousands of games benefit from those upgrades. Another thing that they threw in the article as well as the tweet is that there's no boost mode and no downclocking on the Xbox Series X, which is actually some pretty hilarious and obvious shots at Sony, because as we all know by now, the entire PS5 is really based on a boost mode of either the CPU or the GPU. Let's say the GPU is boosted, that means the CPU gets downclocked, and if the CPU is boosted, that means the GPU gets downclocked. That's how they're really achieving that 10.2 I think it's 10.2 teraflops. I have to fact check myself on that. That's how they're achieving that 10.2 teraflops on the GPU, because they're downclocking the CPU to achieve that. But as the generation goes on, CPU demands are going to get heavier and heavier, and they're going to have to bring that GPU clock down so that they can bring the CPU clock up. And that's where Sony might run into problems, but even then, 9 teraflops is it's pretty damn powerful. It's not 12 teraflops, but it's pretty damn powerful. I'm pretty sure Sony will be fine throughout the generation. But there is a significant power difference there. And that certainly does explain the shots from Xbox in this blog post where they claim no boost mode and no downclocking. And one of the things that I'm really excited about for this next generation is playing older games with significantly improved load times, which is something that they talked about in this article as well. Basically, the SSD doesn't just support the next generation games, it'll support all of the backwards compatible games also. So if you download a game from your Xbox One or 360 or original Xbox onto that SSD, then it's going to load significantly faster than it's ever loaded before. Like for example, I just went back on my Xbox One X and purchased most of the Splinter Cell series from the OG Xbox all the way to the 360, and those games, they load pretty quick on my Xbox One X, but it's gonna load incredibly quick. Like, especially those old original Xbox Splinter Cells. They're gonna load really quick on the Series X. And that's the same for just about any backwards compatible game. Think about those massive RPGs like The Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Skyrim Remastered, Fallout 4. Like, those games are going to load super quick on the next generation hardware. Another thing that they mentioned in this article that I completely forgot about, and they have talked about it before, I just forget when it was, is they're going to have HDR Reconstruction on the Xbox Series X. And what that does is it basically takes every game and applies HDR to it. Doesn't matter if the game supported it or not. The HDR Reconstruction allows it to be applied to any game. So all your games, if you have an HDR TV, all of your backwards compatible games, any game you play on your Xbox Series X will benefit from HDR Reconstruction. And the best part of this HDR Reconstruction is that it's at no cost to your game performance. So the game will look better just from the HDR Reconstruction, and it doesn't cost you anything in terms of frames per second or lower graphical settings. It's just baked right into the platform. And then they really finish off the article with a bang, in my opinion, and they announce that a select set of titles, we don't know the titles yet, but a select set of titles will be frame rate enhanced. And this is amazing news, especially for a guy like me who plays quite a few older games. Like recently, I've gone back and I'm now playing Rise, Son of Rome again. And to this day, that is one of the best looking games of this generation. It's honestly a shame they haven't patched it for Xbox One X, because even at 720p, I feel very confident saying that's like a top 15 looking game from this generation. And oddly enough, I've also been playing quite a bit of Forza Horizon 2, which is another game that I think it's the only Forza Horizon game that hasn't been patched for Xbox One X. And honestly, I could just keep going with the older games I've been playing. But my point is that it's games like those two, especially those two, like Rise at 30 FPS on Xbox One, is super fun. But if they could up that to 60 FPS, they could probably honestly do 120 FPS. If they're going to keep it at like 720p or 1080p, they could probably do 120 FPS on that game. And if they can do that, it'll be like a brand new game. And the same goes for Forza Horizon 2, which, like I said, is the only Horizon game not patched for Xbox One X. And right now, I think that game currently runs 1080p 30 FPS. If they can bump that 30 FPS up to 60 FPS, that gives that game an entirely new lease on life. And I would imagine that this doesn't just apply to early Xbox One games. I'd be willing to bet that this goes for 360 and original Xbox games. Like, think of a game like Gears of War 3 or even Gears of War 2. Both are Xbox One X enhanced and they run at 4K 30 FPS. If you can bump that 30 FPS up to 60 FPS, then that takes those games to completely different levels. Now keep in mind, we don't know what titles will be frame rate enhanced, but this is just for the beginning of the Xbox Series X generation. Who knows how big that list of titles can and will get. Like, this could turn into something massive next generation, and quite honestly, I could see this topping Smart Delivery as my most anticipated Series X feature. Honestly, this is just one of those things where the more I hear about the Xbox Series X, the more excited I am about it. And I'm really happy about that, because I'm sure a lot of us, including myself, can remember feeling the exact opposite way going from the 360 to the Xbox One, where the more and more I heard about the Xbox One, the less and less excited I got. There was never any question that that was going to be my day one console, but man, with Don Matrick up there talking about all that stuff he was talking about, it was discouraging to listen to that stuff. But thankfully, they got Phil Spencer in there in the middle of the generation, and he seems to be riding the ship. They got the studios, they're hard at work on the games, they definitely got the hardware, and right now it seems like a bright future for Xbox, and I couldn't be more excited for it. But what do you guys think? What's your opinion on the blog post? What's your favorite thing they covered? And finally, what game are you most looking forward to booting up day one on your Series X? I know for me personally, it's definitely Halo Infinite. Let me know in the comments, leave a like if you liked the video, please subscribe if you would be so kind. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.